G'day, I'm Adam David Collins. Welcome to Stories. Before I launch right into my monthly wrap-up, I want to share two exciting things with you. First of all, check this out. This is a paperback version of Medieval Mars, the Anthology. This book contains a short story by myself. There it is. This book's been out for about a year, but I recently ordered myself a paper copy, and it's just really special to be able to have this and hold it in my hand. So, I think that's really cool. The sequel to Medieval Mars, Victorian Venus, is in the works, so keep your eye out for that one. Also, author Nadine, who I interviewed on the show a couple of years ago, is currently doing a Goodreads giveaway for her book A Time to Die. This book had a big impact on my life. It's described as a YA dystopian with hope. None of us really know how many days we have left alive on this earth, and this book really encourages you to make the most of whatever time we do have. The latest book in that series, A Time to Rise, is coming out later this year, I believe. Alright, so on to the books I read in May 2016. First off, there was For Us Humans by Rzasa, and I'm just going to read you a bit of the back cover copy on this one. Hey, my name's Kaz Fortel. I'm 30, good looking and a great liar. In fact, that's my job, to lie to people who steal works of art and get the goods back. Then one day I get the big call from the FBI, $1 million to recover a stolen statue with huge cultural value. Downside? The partner they assigned me has an unhealthy interest in Jesus, an interest I've tried really hard to erase from my life. Also, that partner is an alien with 4 arms and a tremendous sense of smell. So this is a science fiction adventure set in an alternate present day. Back in 2006, aliens arrived, not to conquer, but to invite us into their panstellar consociation. Earth has strategic value, and it would be a great place to build a warp gate. So we basically become part of their empire. There are aliens on Earth walking around, reminding me very much of that old TV show Alien Nation, if you remember that. So this book starts off as a bit of a fun mystery, but by the end it escalates into some pretty epic stakes with space battles and all that kind of cool stuff. The protagonist is pretty snarky, and the alien races are uniquely developed. And in addition to all of that, the book examines the whole concept of what happens to traditional religions like Christianity when aliens arrive. A lot of people have walked away from their beliefs, and our protagonist actually has a pretty big chip on his shoulder about this towards the aliens, basically blaming them for destroying his faith. So why is it that this alien he's been partnered with is so interested in learning more about Jesus and potentially even becoming a Christian himself? So that was a really interesting aspect of the story. So I had a great time reading For Us Humans, and I'm definitely going to be checking out more of Rasa's stuff in the future. Next one I read was Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops by Campbell. Now this was pretty funny. It's not often that I'll laugh out loud reading a book, but this one definitely got me going. It's all real-life quotes of things that people have actually said in bookshops. So if you're wanting a laugh, you should definitely check this one out. Next, I read Firstborn by Sanderson. This is a space opera short story. It starts off as a fairly innocuous little character drama about this guy. He's a space commander who just can't live up to the unreasonable expectations that have been put on him because of his bloodline. And at the midpoint it twists into this really tense, epic kind of story, and it just keeps you wondering how are they going to deal with this. And it concludes with what I found was a fairly clever ending, a real kind of stand-up and cheer moment. Yeah, just a clever ending. So this is the first science fiction of Brandon's that I've really read, other than his YA superhero stuff. So it makes me all the more eager for the Mistborn space opera series that he has planned for the future. I finished listening to For Honor We Stand by H. Paul Honsinger. This is the second book in his military sci-fi Man of War series. This one started off a bit slow, kind of jumping from one disconnected thing to another. It just seemed to lack cohesion as a story. But towards the last quarter of the book, things really picked up and just became extremely intense. I remember I was walking to work listening to it that morning, and I just remember thinking, if I get to the office before this story's finished, I'm just going to have to walk blocks around until I get to the end, because I just had to know what was going to happen. And what I was feeling was really mirroring what the characters were feeling, wanting to know, but then also not wanting to know, because how could this be good? It was just really intense moment, and I've just never identified with the character's emotion that strongly before. So yeah, a bit of a slow start, but definitely picked up and got back on track. So it'll be quite interesting to see where things go now with the third book in the series. Next, I read Daystar, The Days Are Numbered by Anne Hamilton. This is a middle grade portal fantasy. Fern is a 13-year-old girl who's pulled from our world into another dimension. There she joins a band of children and talking animals on their quest to find the prophesied king who guards the gates. The book had some really interesting world building in it. The particular dimension they're in has been affected by something they refer to as the englobing. I don't want to spoil it, but I found that really interesting. One of the characters in this book was autistic. Now, I thought this was really good, particularly for autistic children like my son. It gives them a character to identify with and relate to, but also for other children, it teaches them a little bit about autism and how best to interact with an autistic child. So I thought that was really quite valuable. The other thing about this book is that while there are epic battles in it, it focuses on finding non-violent solutions to problems. And that's another important lesson for kids. So yeah, that was great. So if you enjoyed the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, then you'll love Daystar. So grab it for your kids and grab it for yourself as well. Finally, I read Perfect State by Brandon Sanderson. This is a novella that takes a twist fairly early on that makes it very different from Sanderson's usual fare. This is the first time that a Sanderson book hasn't really done it for me. Don't get me wrong, it was well written, and the ending was very clever, but it left a very bitter taste in my mouth. Not even bittersweet, just bitter. So yeah, it was a good book, but it just didn't end the way I wanted it to. Just a personal taste thing, purely. Well, that's all for me for this month. What have you kids been reading?
I've been reading the Letty series. It's a historical fiction.
Cool. What about you, Harry?
Satpa, Volcanic Panic, and Volcano Adventure.
Wow, very cool. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any thoughts about any of the books that I've discussed in this video. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye!